All right, it is another day, guys. I just finished up sanding on this side. That's where we left off last time. I actually went to Home Depot and I purchased a new tool. I got myself an angle grinder here. The reason why I bought this is because I have no other solution on how to remove this seam seal. This stuff just looks disgusting. It's old. It just folds up, it bunches up, and it just makes the engine bay really dated. I have this wire wheel. It's pretty damn coarse. I actually tested it a little bit right here. It had no problem taking it off. I think after we angle grind it, we'll go ahead and sand everything down, apply some new seam seal, and then we'll start doing body work. So yeah, let's get to it. I also bought some new safety glasses. This is probably the only Milwaukee product I will ever own. Who knows if this will actually protect me, but I do have my glasses and I'm gonna wear these on top, I guess. I don't know, how's that look?
I think I'm gonna try a different accessory to kind of get into the grooves. I bought this set in Harbor Freight. It's actually not that bad. It came with like a whole bunch of different accessories in here. Different wire wheels. This one's another cup. And it was only 10 bucks. Granted, is it the best quality? I don't know, questionable, but this is my first angle grinder. And so far, from what I did, it's doing the job. I don't know how long it'll do it for, but for 10 bucks, I mean, I can't complain. They were selling one of these at Home Depot by Milwaukee, and one of these wheels was already costing like $30. So $10 for a whole set, $30 for one. It seems like a pretty no-brainer to me. All right, guys, let me show you something. So this grinder really made short work of this stuff. I mean, it just basically peeled the old seam sealer off. That stuff is really caked on there, and I'm gonna show you how bad it is. This stuff is, you can barely even make a dent in here, and I'm using this scraper here. And over here, I mean, God, it really saved me a lot of time. I mean, now I can finally like start scraping all this crap off, and it pretty much saved me so much time. Now the problem is, I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to get in here. As you can see, it's still very difficult for me to scrape any of that off. I'm hoping I can use one of the smaller accessories either on that, or use my Dremel, or something, because I do have this small little cup that I can attach to a drill. I also have these here. This is just a little wheel and brush set for my Dremel. I'm gonna see if this good old Black & Decker drill that I have with this attachment is gonna be enough to get into that angle. Unfortunately, the angle grinder is way too big, so let's see if this can actually get into crevices here. It was able to kind of get in there, but I can't really get into these little crevices. I'm gonna see how these might fare. This is the Dremel one, so I don't know, we'll see. Even though this thing is tiny, these metal things are still pretty sharp, so hopefully this kind of cuts through. It's cutting. All right, well, the good news is this actually works. The bad news is it's going at a very slow pace. If I keep it there for too long, I think the motor's gonna burn out on this little Dremel tool. So I have to go slow, but it is what it is. At least we're able to kind of still scrape it all off. So, this stuff sucks. So I've been chucking at it for a while. As you can see, what used to be a cone is no longer a cone. Oh man, this is gonna suck. I don't know if I'm gonna have to go back and buy a shit ton more of these or what I'm gonna do, but yeah, that's just frustrating as hell. Luckily, I still have a couple more. Ow. Damn, these are sharp as shit. But luckily, I still have a couple more of these, so we're just gonna keep on chucking.
I thought there was a sweet by the gold version on so it's Swedish,
So, combination of things. Dremel to get into the small nooks and crannies. The actual drill to clean up on the outside edges. This is mostly used for, you know, light cleanup. The actual grind wheel is absolutely annihilating all of the seam seal. But the problem is the grind wheel can't get in between these areas. So I literally have been scraping with this little putty knife. And to be honest, you know, it's a lot of work, but it's actually coming off. So I'm not gonna stress over the Dremel too much anymore. I've already drilled through so many of these, like they're like practically gone at this point. So I still have a couple of wheels left. I'm gonna save that for this side over here. Just doing cleanup on this side. After I get done using the putty knife, I'm gonna hit it with some pretty aggressive grit. I think I'm gonna hit it with like 40 or 80 grit sandpaper, and then scuff it up again with 200, and it should be ready for seam seal after that. But before I get to that point, I'm gonna do both sides so I can do it all at once.
It's been about 3 hours. I just got pretty much done with this side of the strut tower. As you can see, I took off quite a bit of the seam seal over here. I'm not really tripping too much. If there's a little bit of seam seal that's left behind, it's really hard to get into there. I'm gonna end up putting new seam seal around here anyways. I'm not quite sure how I want to apply it. The seam seal that they put on these cars stock is insane. It's like, it's freaking huge. This has got to be like at least an inch or an inch and a half of seam seal, which I don't think that's really necessary to put that much. I want to kind of keep the bead really small. Right now, I'm just doing a little bit more cleanup. I am going to take the grinder and I'm going to cut some of these brackets off. This is pretty much what people do when they shave their engine bay. Pretty much get rid of all the sealer and kind of just run it like this. I think they just paint over this or they just bondo over the cracks, but yeah, I mean, aesthetically wise, it does look really clean, but functionality wise, if you do get water in there, there's a tendency or there's a risk of getting rust underneath your metal panels. Yeah, don't really want that to happen. So let me go ahead and keep chucking at this. Gonna keep cleaning up, and then we're gonna cut those brackets off.
It's too hard to get the angle grinder inside that area, so I just attached this little saw tool on this Dremel, and hopefully that's enough to get it off. Alright, so we got the large piece off, and I used the Dremel, and I pretty much cut as close as I can over here. It's this pretty tight squeeze. I'm going to try to use the flat disc now to kind of flatten everything out. Hopefully we get a good outcome. Alright, I'd say that looks pretty good. As flat as I'm going to get it. I don't want to grind more off. I'll just put bondo over this and call it a day. We'll smooth it all out after. I sanded everything back down to 120 around those areas that I took the seam seal off. And then I hit it again with 220. So as of now, this side is all clean. And I'm gonna make my way over to this side. I'm not quite sure what these plates are on this side. Again, my car looks like it was in an accident before. Obviously there's frame rail damage, but you can see like there's these random plates here. I don't know if there was a hole when this got hit and they just patched this up with metal. Yeah, that's weird. That's weird. You can obviously see that there was some frame damage here. This bent. Otherwise, this all looks okay. Just gonna be sanding down, smoothing all this other stuff out. I gotta get in here with the drill because I can't get to that seam seal, and we'll just clean this all up. All right, guys, so I finally, I think, got done sanding the entire engine bay. I just kind of cleaned up a little bit here. I pretty much went around with 220 all over the engine bay. All the seam seal that I can reach is all gone. This is, I think, as best as I'm gonna get it.
I just actually got done cleaning the inside real quick. I used some of this grease and wax remover. Bought the stuff on Amazon. Actually, it's wax and tar remover. The stuff is pretty good. I am gonna put seam sealer. I didn't want to completely leave it shaved. Again, like I said, I'm a functional guy. I'm gonna do my best to kind of seam seal this as smooth as possible because the previous seam seal looked like straight doo-doo. It is so bad. I don't know what the BMW engineers were thinking. Like, they kind of just seemed like they just smeared it all over the place. Yeah, I taped everything off. I'm gonna just do a small bead and flatten it out. Hopefully we can do this without getting too messy. I did tape everything off. It looks pretty good, actually. So pretty much want to get that seam seal in between areas that have metal to metal that were obviously welded. So we're gonna do this all around. As you can see here, we have quite a bit of seam seal we need to apply. And yeah, hopefully turns out pretty good. All right, so I just got done applying the seam seal. I'm just gonna wait for it to kind of tacky out a little bit. This stuff is pretty good. It self-flattens itself out, so even though it looks kind of ugly, for instance, on this side, which is fresh, it tends to flatten out. So hopefully we get a pretty good finish. I'm gonna go ahead and unwrap the tape in a little bit, and we can see what the results look like. We took all the tape off, and I'm pretty happy the way things turned out. The lines are actually pretty sharp. It hasn't completely cured yet. Obviously, I can sand this down once everything is all dried, but for the most part, the seam seal does not look bad. I'm pretty happy, considering this is my first time doing it, and don't really know what I'm doing. And I did cake it on quite a bit over here. This is where all of our new welds were, but for the most part, not bad.
I just tacked up the car, wiped it all down. What I'm gonna do now is start mixing up some body filler. So I got some bondo here. This is a small little kit. I haven't mixed this in a while. I've got a bondo spreader and a paper plate here just to mix it in. And then I'll be applying it. So hopefully this doesn't go too bad. We just applied some of the body filler. I went pretty heavy on this end here. There was a lot of like areas in here, dings and stuff, and dents. So I really need to cover that up. I feel like a majority of the damage that happened when this car had front end damage was on this side. I also covered up a couple of the brackets that we cut off on this end, and also on this side, the couple of brackets here. I do have to finish up over here. Applying body filler is it's interesting. This is only the second time I've ever messed with it, so I'm not completely good at it, but for the most part, hopefully when it dries up and we sand everything down, it'll look okay.
I'm talking to you. 30 miles.
Fast forward in time, it's another day. Basically today, all I did was clean up the bondo, aka the body filler over on this side. It's as smooth as possible. This looks a lot better than it did before. This is what it looked like before. You can see there's a bunch of bangs in there and dents, and this is just as smooth as can be. It's not perfect, I'm not a professional, but it's good enough for me. It is just in spec. So that is good. Cleaned up the seam seal a little bit, just sanded it down. It's more of a rubber texture, So it's not completely hardened, and I basically went around, I've already prepped the entire area. Everything I don't want painted obviously is now covered. This was just a really timely process. I went twice, I did 2 passes of grease and tar remover throughout the entire engine bay. I wrapped everything up as best as I could. This area was difficult. I pretty much rewrapped the entire fuse box area. And the transmission tunnel was kind of a bitch to get to too. It's not gonna be perfect underneath there. I'm not tripping about it too much. No one's really gonna see it. So basically the plan is to pretty much primer the entire vehicle. I'm gonna go ahead and spray black paint underneath on this side where you can't see. On both sides there. I also off camera sanded down my brake booster and the front rail here that goes onto the bumper area. So at this point, I kind of had to slow down a little bit. I was hoping to get primer done in this episode, but I noticed that I've been rushing a little bit and I kind of want to take my time. I don't want to rush through this because I want to get decent results. So just to kind of reset, let my mind rest a little bit, let my body rest. I've been working on this since noon and it's about, I think it's about, what time is it? Yeah, it's about 8:30. So literally I've been working on this for 8 hours the entire day. So I think I'm gonna call it a wraps for this episode, guys. In the next one, we'll be unboxing the Fuji sprayer, which I already started doing. And we're gonna be mixing up some primer. So that'll be up in the next episode. Thanks for watching and keep following the build. See ya.